Well, hello there, dear viewer. Welcome back to Archangel RC. In continuation to my how-to video on how to almost destroy an $11,000 drone, here is part 2 in which we remove the almost from the equation to arrive at how to destroy an $11,000 drone like a complete moron. I will be your idiot for the day, and together we can dive into the ridiculous nature of this accident. Long-time channel viewers, and especially those who attend my live streams, may have noticed that post-transition, I always use the Uni-GCS to switch from fly-by-wire A to cruise mode. This flight was supposed to test the plane's endurance with the third of the carbon T-motor props on the new Pancake T-motor motor with the new 6S 39 amp-hour battery. Outside of the fact that I overslept a bit that morning and arrived a bit late at the airfield, everything seemed great. No issues with the power module, it was detecting the correct voltage this time around, all the telemetry links worked fine, I had both Mission Planner and Kite GC connected to the autopilot via the two telemetry streams the Uni RC10 Pro system is able to provide. I even had the motor now mounted on 5cm standoffs, 2cm longer than all the previous flights, because the motor being so flat meant that these huge props were again brought closer to the tail of the plane. And in addition to the noise being too loud, you can see that as the prop passes next to the V-tails, this is where the sound is made, and also you can see how the V-tail fins flap every time the prop goes past them. So I decided to extend them another 2cm, and it felt like it sounded better now, which also affects efficiency. So get this, I take off, I get up to altitude, I flip the switch, transition starts, plane picks up speed pretty quickly, all looks good, and once the transition was done, as per usual, I switched over to cruise mode from Uni-GCS, using the touchscreen. I dropped the throttle under 50% because cruise mode manages the throttle, and if it is above 50% it will keep it higher than needed, hence why I drop it below that. I then pulled on the elevator to start the altitude gain. Well, imagine my surprise when I raise my eyes from the screen to the plane and see it wobbling on a downward trajectory to the ground. I look at the video feed, see the field coming closer, obviously the plane doesn't have enough speed and something's not working, but in my mind I am in cruise mode, so if that's not working, maybe the prop came off. So as a last ditch effort I switched back to Q-hover mode, but a little too late I guess, and everything froze a second or two after that. Now, before we proceed, I would like to ask you all to pause the video here, think about what could have happened, rewind it back if you have to, and watch it again up to this point, try to figure out what went wrong, and write it in the comments below, but also do not read other comments, let's keep this interesting, but I promise you, this is about as dumb as you can possibly imagine. Alright, so remember how the Uni-RC system can carry two telemetry streams to the ground, and when I use the touchscreen to switch flight modes from Uni-GCS, I'm essentially using one of those telemetry streams to do that. Usually, I would have one of those connected to Mission Planner on my laptop, the other would be used by Uni-GCS on the radio. Well, since for this flight I also had Kite GC connected, that is what the second telemetry link was utilized for, so it wasn't really connected in the Uni-GCS app on the radio, and in fact if we look at the OSD, it does not update at all throughout this short flight for that exact reason. But because I'm used to looking at the video and OSD overlay on the radio and switching modes from there, in the heat of the moment, I again reverted to what I usually do. Wait for the transition to be done and then switch to cruise mode from the Uni-GCS app, because after the addition of the GT2 system to the plane, I literally ran out of available channels, so can't have it on a switch without overriding something else. Well, guess what? Because both telemetry links are used up on the computer, the Uni-GCS wasn't connected, so me switching modes in there did absolutely nothing. So rather than cruise mode taking over, the plane remained in fly-by-wire A mode. But my actions following that were as if it were in cruise mode. I dropped the throttle below 50% and pulled on the elevator, which in cruise mode would have caused the autopilot to throttle up and start gaining altitude. In fly-by-wire A mode, sadly, it had a very different effect. The low throttle was not enough to maintain altitude, let alone gain it, and when I pulled on the elevator, I literally stalled the plane. Props to the autopilot and the hero for working together on not getting into a tip stall. The stall actually looked pretty well managed, but by the time I flipped back to Q hover, it was a bit too late for recovery, and the rest is history now, with the plane needing repair. Now, I know people would start arguing in favor of all the safety procedures, which I'm not really using here, but those are the trade-offs one has to make in certain situations. In my situation, that is dual battery setup with a very small battery for the VTOL part, which allows only for a short takeoff and short landing. If I had Q assist enabled, as soon as the plane dropped below 14 meters a second, for instance, Q assist would have started the VTOL motors back up to help keep the plane from crashing. Perhaps it would have taken me only a few seconds to figure out what was happening, and I would have throttled up and switched to cruise mode from Mission Planner or Kite just a bit later on. I would have wasted a bit more of the VTOL battery, but would have saved the plane, although that would have required a shorter and tidier landing, which is fine. It may be that I may not have figured out what was happening in time and flipped to hover and just landed vertically in the cornfield. Would that have resulted in less damage? No idea. No way of knowing now. Or I could have taken my time figuring it out, and by the time I got the plane in forward flight, the VTOL battery might have been spent with not enough capacity left for the landing, which would have made the landing a lot more damaging for the gimbal and the whole underside of the plane, which would mean that what actually happened could be the best possible outcome in this situation. We could spend ages theorizing what could have happened if. But the fact is, what happened because I was an idiot and completely blanked out on the fact that the two telemetry streams are connected to the computer and the UniGCS is not connected, which I did not do the previous flight when the situation was the same. Not sure why I blanked on this now. This whole thing dawned on me as I was driving back home and wondering what had happened. And I wasn't really angry about it. When realization hit, I laughed and laughed, realizing how much of an idiot I'd been. I guess I got lucky because outside of the ripped legs, split fuselage at the seam, broken nose, the bent gimbal mount arm, torn out pitot tube, broken walk snail GT2 3D printed mount, and half unglued motor mount, there wasn't much other damage, and all of the electronic components actually work, including the gimbal and the airspeed sensor. There was nothing broken on the plane that a little glue wouldn't fix. Honestly, this does feel like I have won the lottery again. The first time was when the LC filter failed on the ground and not in the air. This time the lottery winnings weren't quite as big, but it feels like a win nonetheless. It could have been so much worse, but as it stands, a bit of effort, some glue, a few carbon tubes here and there, and it should be back in the air at almost no cost. Props to T-Motor for making some pretty darn tough props. This one was actually 12 centimeters deep into the dirt, and all it has to show for it is a bit of dirt on it and some very light scratches. Only one cable needed to be fixed, but overall the repairs are not that hard, and the overall damage, considering what happened, is not that bad. The nose broke off pretty cleanly, and I hope I will be able to get this done quickly and have the plane back in the air shortly after coming back to town from my trip, which will be around mid-September. So yeah, I feel exceptionally dumb right now because this was literally all me. The plane did nothing wrong, the autopilot did nothing wrong, I caused all of this by breaking out of the usual habits and blanking out on the fact that the Uni GCS, in this case, was not connected to the telemetry stream. It sucks, but I tried to look on the positive side. I'm pretty certain this would probably never happen again, at least not in this specific way. And like I said, it could have been so much worse. As you have probably guessed, there will be a delay on the T-motor tests and also a delay on the GT2 range testing as a consequence of all of this, but it is what it is. The Hero is on the mend right here behind me, repairs are underway, but I don't think I will be able to fly it before I leave. This glue needs time to set and I have other things to do as well. Next time I will make sure to get the plane much higher before trying to switch to cruise, or better yet, may just transition into cruise mode from the get-go to avoid such a situation. Now, comment below and let me know how big of an idiot I was, subscribe if you haven't already, and like the video if you like the video, though I doubt you do. A huge thank you to everyone who supports this channel. Very little of this would be possible without you guys. Safe flying and I will see you when I see you.